It is time. We are here. It is Pop Culture Hour. This is a show we do every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Kim, and we have two amazing guests today. We have Melody, and we've got T Legit, and both of our guests have chosen topics from pop culture that they love that we're going to be talking about. This is a show where I bring on two guests every week, and and they talk about their favorite pop culture topics, whether it's a singer, a band, a TV show, a musician, a movie, an actor. You get the point. We can go on, and so this, and so again, this is a soon to be this is a test run for featured, so we are not going to be I'm not going to be able to acknowledge any comments or gifts during the show, but I appreciate everybody, and at the end I will shout out my top gifters. And so, and if anybody would like to be on the show, you can reach out to me or the Beard Raider. And yeah, so I'm excited to get the show started. It's been a long time coming, bringing this show back, and I'm excited to get our first guest into the box. So if Too Legit wants to request the box, we are going to get started. And remember, guys, we are test run for featured, so no cursing, no smoking in the box, no anything that is inappropriate. So we're going to keep it family friendly. All right. We're going to bring Too Legit into the box. Here we go.
Hi, Kim Possible. It's good to see you.
Hello, Too Legit. How are you? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are? And
Well, I'm too legit, and currently I'm trying to get. I do stream a little bit, not much, but I am trying to do a game show on Mondays at 9 p.m. Uh, Hopefully, I need some contestants for that, and we'll get started on that. And that's really about it that I do now. So,
yay, we love that.
and be on feature shows.
Yes, we love that. Here, I'm gonna make you medium actually. Okay, so now your topic that you chose is the Sega system.
Yeah.
So, what does the Sega system mean to you? Does um, does the Sega system have inspiration or a special meaning?
It has very special meaning to me because I grew up on that, and from when I was very young, and I used to be very deep in the Sega systems, um, starting from the very first one, and that was the Sega Master System. So, and then I ended up getting my last system, which was the Sega Saturn. Sorry, Dreamcast was my last system for that. But I had lots of fun and lots of nostalgia when it comes to that. So
Yeah, definitely. I remember the Sega system. I don't think I actually ever played on it. But isn't that the system with that Sonic the Hedgehog originated on? Or am I?
Yes, it did originate Sega. They had Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes. Um, my best system of them all was the Dreamcast, uh, because I was able to bring. Uh, they developed certain things with that, and you're able to eventually play PlayStation games on that system. So it was fantastic, you know. Back then, we thought the graphics were amazing. Every single time they came out with a new system. So,
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know about the Sega system, can you explain it briefly?
well, that the Sega system basically started in my time, which was 1980s at least, and it was in competition with Nintendo at the time. So every single time you have Nintendo try to do better than the Sega system, and back and forth, and it was near the end that basically that's what ruined them, is that they came out with too many systems at the same time. So, and they just went bankrupt. So,
Yeah, that's wild.
yeah.
So so now, do you remember the first time you heard of the Sega system? How old were you about, and if you can remember your initial
Oh,
reaction to it?
my my first reaction to it was basically uh, when they came out with the Master System. It wasn't a real big deal, but when it came out with the Sega Genesis, it started making big headways. Everybody wanted it. It was so pop culture to get a Sega Genesis, and just the graphics alone on that was amazing at the time. So to see everything in 16-bit was was actually amazing. So unfortunately, well, thank God almost at virtual reality now. So
Yeah.
um,
Did wait was was the Super Nintendo or before Sega or after?
the Super Nintendo was just after, shortly after. That was a competition for the Sega Genesis.
Mm,
So
oh, okay.
it was
Uh,
actually the original Nintendo.
okay, so Sega came first, and then it was the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, between the yeah, it was Sega Genesis came first, and then the Super Nintendo.
Okay, so and so, what was some of your favorite games on Sega?
Ooh, my most favorite game of all time for the Sega Genesis was basically Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
That's that's I've heard of that game. That's a
yeah,
incredible game.
it was an incredible game. And for Sega Genesis, they included the blood on that system. They did not include the blood on the Super Nintendo version. So everybody went to flock for Genesis for
Yeah,
that.
because I guess they wanted to keep it family friendly on the
Yeah,
Nintendo. So, anyways, guys, you're tuning into Pop Culture Hour here, and we've got Too Legit in the box, and he's talking about the Sega system. And this is a show that happens every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we bring on two guests, and we will be joined by Melody in a little bit. But right now, we are talking to Too Legit. So, um, Too Legit, what what were you like? Your like how like when could you what could you recall as something do you have any like favorite memories about the Sega, like that, something that brings you back to it? And
Well, yeah, because my best friend used to have all the systems. That includes Nintendo and Sega, and we used to play hours and hours uh, of just gaming systems, and especially one that stuck out to me was Virtual Fighter. Uh, on I believe it was a Sega Saturn when it first came out, and we were all playing it like crazy until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 24 hours. We would never stop. So, though that was the best memory I ever had. So,
yeah. So if you could choose any character you'd be in one of the Sega games, what would what character would you be and why?
well, my favorite character of all time in the Nintendo systems, sorry, in my Sega systems, was Knuckles. Uh, and the reason why is because I always found him cool. I found him cooler than Sonic, and he was actually red.
So
So,
for anybody in the comments who doesn't know who Knuckles is, can you explain what game Knuckles is from and
okay,
the character?
Knuckles is found in, I believe it was a Sega Genesis 32-bit system, um, 32X system when it first came out, and Knuckles was an enemy of Sonic, so it was playable in the actual new systems. I believe I actually have the system here somewhere, the game somewhere, but can't remember it right now. But
So you would choose the villains over the
yes,
heroes. You said I like the villains over the heroes.
yeah.
Okay. So now now can now like since Sonic originated from Sega and there have been a bunch of movies that have been made from video games.
Yeah.
Have have what's your what's your thoughts on the movies that get turned from video games into movies?
Well, they pretty much stuck to the original games for the movies. So, of course, the Sonic 1, the Sonic 2, Sonic 3. The Sonic 3 is basically, I could see where they had developed it, and they stuck pretty much to the actual storyline of Sonic. So that's why I find because
Now, can you recall uh, a game in the Sega where it was just a very hard level and you
oof,
couldn't beat it? And
it's the current one, and I'm trying to think of the name. Um, it's oof. It was made for Xbox, but it was a very hard one. um, but
was there any on the Sega?
no, it ended up being on the Xbox actually. Um, so Sega, it was the other one I found hard even on the Sega system was the new one, which was at the time would be considered Sonic 4, and it was Sonic and Knuckles. Um,
Uh,
that there was some that were hard, hard to beat.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So now, what are some of if you could tell? If, I'm gonna now. You have a second topic, which was John Candy.
Yeah.
So let's briefly get into that for a little bit. What does John Candy mean to you? Um,
Uh,
does John Candy have inspiration?
John Candy. I always thought of him very highly. Um, Unfortunately, he has passed away a long time. Um, but yeah, he was a very good comedian, and uh, when I was younger, that's what actually, when I was miserable or something like that, I would draw back to the John Candy movies and make me smile. So he would actually bring cheer in my life. So, very good Canadian comedian. So, um,
So John Candy was a comedian and an actor.
comedian actor, yes.
From what was some of his well-known movies that people might know?
Oh, some one that started his debut or came close to his very first one that he starred in was Home Alone.
He was in Home
The
Alone.
original Home Alone. He actually starred in that one.
Who? What? Who did he play?
He played the musician that brought his mother home to Kevin, to Macaulay Culkin. And that one, he was a big fat guy. He was a big fat guy, but he was in that movie just to bring his mother home near the
Yeah,
end of the movie. So
I love that.
yeah, uh,
So would you would you say Home Alone was the first time you heard of John Candy, or where was the first time you heard of John
ooh,
Candy from?
very first time I've heard John Candy was in a movie called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I ended up watching Home Alone afterwards. But it was that movie
Yeah.
that got me into him, and he was hilarious. Um, the other one he did was Who Was Harry Crumb
Okay, I've heard of that one.
and Uncle Buck was
I think
another
I
one.
heard of that one also.
So a few others I knew too was Wagons East.
Never heard of that one.
Okay, and Canadian Bacon was his last movie he ever did. So before he passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah. So now he also did comedy. Uh what 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 drew you into his comedy?
What drew me into his comedy was Saturday Night Live.
So
He
he
actually
was
did some episodes in Saturday Night Live, and that's what really drew me in.
so he was a regular on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
That's cool. Um so did you ever see him live as a perform live?
Uh, no, I've never seen him live, unfortunately. Um, but I did want to go see him when he came to Toronto, and he would actually live in Toronto,
Wow.
not in the States. So I've always wanted to see him unfortunately never never happened.
Yeah.
So
So if you if there if you could if you saw if he was still alive because he's dead, right?
yes.
Yeah. So if he was still alive, what would be one thing that you would want to ask or tell him?
Well, if he was still alive today, I I'd probably be star shocked because I was that much of a fan that I would have I wouldn't have any words to be able to tell him. You know, um, other than he was basically almost a hero. You know, and that's basically I would tell him is that he was like my hero and keeping me happy when everything around me was sad. You know, so
Oh, that's some good words.
yeah.
So now, before we bring Melody into the box, what can you tell people if they want to check out uh, the Sega system? Like, if they want to go into a vintage video game store and get all the adapters and everything and play the
Well,
game, or even check out John Candy, like if they want to become a fan or
yeah.
like
Well,
what.
it's very hard to get a lot of his movies. You definitely have to do your research on a lot of his movies. They are out on the internet, but you do have to, go through maybe Amazon or something like that. They're definitely not on the streaming services. Um, so, yeah, he's funny as an actor. You can also go with YouTube, and YouTube has a lot of stuff on his comedy skits and stuff like that. So, and as for the Sega, there are systems now that basically takes all those vintage games that I lived in and put it into one. And sometimes there's different retro games and stuff like that they have. So it's easier now to collect than it was before. So
Sure. Well, thank you for coming on. We are going to get Melody to request the box. And welcome everybody who's just tuning in. This is Pop Culture Hour. This is a show we do every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we have two guests come on and they choose two of their favorite pop culture topics and they talk about it and we interview them about it, about why it's their favorite. And we do a little what we're gonna get into next, which is a pop quiz. And we're gonna see if Too Legit or Melody will be able to take the win and they will be getting bragging rights.
wow.
So we're gonna get Melody in. I see her requesting right now. And here we go.
I definitely don't know how I'm gonna be because there's a lot of things I haven't heard in a long time. So
Hello.
Hi, Melody. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. So, we're going to get started with the pop culture quiz, the pop quiz. And this is going to be a little segment that I do. It's going to be a 10-minute segment where I'm going to ask pop culture questions. They're multiple choice. So, even if you may not know, you can take a guess, and you may never know, you could get it right.
Okay.
So if so, whoever raises their hand first
Oh,
will
okay.
will.
All right, so we have to raise our hand. All right.
I think that's the easier way too.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So
Yep.
the first question is, what is the last book in the Twilight novel series? 1. Breaking Dawn. 2. Life and Death Twilight Reimagined. Or 3. Midnight Sun.
Oh, shit.
Melody.
Breaking Dawn.
No. Too legit.
It was the third one, which was C. I'm trying to remember. Twilight,
Midnight Sun.
Midnight Sun.
You are correct. Okay. So, okay.
That's 1-0.
Who is the most followed person on Instagram? 1. A. Kylie Jenner. B. Taylor Swift. Or 3. Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well,
Too legit?
I'm gonna say it's Swift. Taylor Swift.
No. It's
No.
not.
Wow.
Melody, do you have a guess?
Caitlyn Jenner.
No.
Oh.
Nobody get. It's Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so nobody gets a point on that one. In what year was the first Avatar movie released? Was it A, 2009, 2, 2010, or 3, or C, 2011?
Oof. Trying to remember.
Melody?
2009.
Correct. All right.
Wow. Okay.
So, who was the first member of One Direction to leave in 2015? Was it A, Harry Styles, B, Zayn Malik, or C, Niall Horan? Melody?
Harry Styles.
No.
Oh.
Okay. What were they again?
The two remaining are Zayn Malik and Niall Horan.
So I would say it's Zao, if I recall.
Zayn?
Zayn.
Correct.
Um,
Okay. And the next one we have. Where was the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy filmed? A. Ireland, B. New Zealand, C. Greenland.
I think we
No.
both know this one.
Yeah.
New Zealand.
Okay, Melody gets it.
Yeah.
So that's 2 and 2, right?
Yeah. No, 3.
3 and 2. He's
Three
got
and
3. I've got 2.
Okay.
No, you got 3 and I got 2. So.
Oh.
Okay. 3 and 2.
I don't care. You can make me win.
Yeah.
Who directed Kill Bill? Quentin Tarantino, or Christopher Nolan, or Guillermo del Toro?
Well, I definitely know this one. It's Tarantino.
Correct.
I have the 2 films.
In Legally Blonde, who was Elle's dog's name? Was it Blanche, Bruiser, or Lizzie?
Oof.
I have no idea.
Oof. I'll say Blanche.
Incorrect.
Oof.
Bruiser and Lizzie are the left ones. You want to take a guess, Melody?
I never heard of it.
I'll take a guess.
What's left?
Bruiser and Lizzie.
Bruzy?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So the next one is, what is the highest grossing film of all time? Is it Avatar, Avengers Endgame, or Star Wars The Force Awakens?
If I recall, it might actually be Star Wars.
Incorrect.
Oof.
Avatar.
Melody got it.
Ooh, shoot. Okay.
All right. The next one is, in Frozen, what is the name of the reindeer? Kristoff, Olaf, or Seven?
He was
be
first.
Ola.
No.
Oh, frick. What?
It was C. Siffrin.
Seven.
Oh.
7.
Yeah, correct.
Spren. Yeah. I'm having trouble
I'm
hearing.
always having trouble with
Yeah.
Okay. Jared Leto is the frontman of which band? A. The Fray, B. 30 Seconds to Mars, or C. Linkin Park?
that. Oh, I would say Linkin Park.
Incorrect.
Oof.
What was the other two?
The Fray or 30 Seconds to Mars?
I've never heard of either one of them, so I'll guess B. 30 seconds to whatever.
You are correct. With
Oh,
30
I'm
seconds
just
to Mars.
guessing. I not heard of them.
It takes a guess, to get it right.
So, what was Spice Girls' debut album called?
Oh.
In the 1996 one. Spice Girls, Spice World, or Spice?
I already know this one. It was Spice Girls.
Incorrect.
Oh, come on.
It was Spice World.
Oh, yeah.
Incorrect.
No.
You
Oh,
both got it wrong.
then it must have been just Spice.
Yeah, it was Spice. Neither of you got that one right. Okay,
Wow.
moving on to the next one. How many members?
Films. Okay.
How many members are in BTS? 4, 7, or 10?
Oof.
Yes.
BTS.
Melody.
7.
Correct.
Oof.
Okay. Destiny Child members include Beyonce Knowles, Kelly Rowland, and A. Michelle Williams, Lisa Lopez, or Melody Thornton.
No.
Uh-oh.
C. Melody, whatever her name is.
Incorrect.
I think it might be Michelle Williams.
Correct. Too
Oh.
legit with another point. What was Justin Bieber's first single? One Time, Baby, or Somebody to Love?
I'm thinking One Time Baby, I think.
Oh, which one?
Ooh.
One Time, Baby, or Somebody to Love?
Not. Somebody to Love, if I recall.
Incorrect.
Oof.
Baby.
Neither of you got that one right. It was
Yeah, I
One
have no
Time.
I was never a fan of Justin Bieber.
I'm guessing.
It's okay. So we're gonna do one last question. In what year was the first iPhone released? 2007, 2009, or 2010?
What were the years again?
2007, 2009, or 2010?
It was 2000. Sorry. 2007.
Correct. You got that. All right.
Yeah.
And the winner is, I believe it's Too Legit, right?
Yeah, he got more than I did.
Too Legit is the winner.
Yeah.
I remember because I got my iPhone that year.
All right. Well, Too Legit, we're gonna let you get going. Do you want to plug one more time before I let you go?
Yes, like I said, I am trying to do a trivia show on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you do want to be a contestant, please hit Beer Raider, and I'll make sure to get you in the show. So that's really about it for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, and I appreciate having you.
Yep.
And
Take care.
all right, bye.
Hi.
All right.
Hello.
Hello, Melody. Why don't you introduce yourself? Well, before you introduce yourself, everybody, welcome. This is Pop Culture Hour. This is a show I do every Monday at 7 p.m. And we've got Melody in the box right now. We are about to get into her topics that she chose, and I'm excited because she has some pretty good topics. This is a show where I bring on two guests, and they have two topics of their favorite pop culture, whether it's a singer, a band, an actor, a movie, a TV show, you name it, and they probably bring it to the table. So we're gonna get into this now. Melody, your topic that you chose was the band Duran Duran.
Yes.
So what do they mean to you? And do they have any inspiration or special meaning?
Well, the thing with Duran Duran, they came out with their first album in 1982, which did not do very well in the States, but everywhere else. So around 1983, they released Rio, their second album, which really took off. And part of the reason was that with that album, with the videos, they hired a video director and they went to places like Antigua Bay, Sri Lanka. They went to exotic locations and filmed their videos. So they got a lot of airplay on MTV, and a lot of airplay on MTV. People were calling in and requesting it on the radio. So it got a lot of radio play, and they took off basically because of MTV. Um, they also were very inspirational during that time for pop culture because people started cutting their hair like them, dressing like them. They were everywhere. They exploded across every continent,
Yeah.
like the Beatles in the 60s, but it was the 80s.
Yeah, so MTV said, "Hey, your videos are very foreign and we love it. We love seeing all the different parts of the world. We're gonna get you on here and
Yeah,
help
my
help you get out there."
well, my generation, we had TVs. They had cable, but not everybody had cable because you had to pay for it. It was expensive. Um, but most of us were watching MTV. you know,
Oh yeah.
we were in our 20s, and most of us had some kind of gaming system, and we had two TVs. One was hooked to a gaming system, one was playing MTV, and you sat up all night, and Duran Duran was always on MTV. They were always doing a new video, a new single. Um, I personally spent so much money. I had every T-shirt, album, poster, book, anything came out with Duran Duran, I bought it, and my friends were all buying it. And I've seen them in concert 13 times.
Wow. Did you ever get to meet them?
I did meet John Taylor and Simon Le Bon. Yes, they came to a concert in Florida, and a friend of mine was a pilot at the airport that they flew into, and I was just happened to be visiting there that day. So he said, "Guess who's in the lobby?" So I went down to the lobby, kind of went to my knees and said, "Oh my God, it's you." And they looked at each other like, "Who?" It was hysterical. And they left tickets for me backstage, so I got to go to that concert that night.
So did you get to go backstage too? Or that's
Hmm.
phenomenal. So you got to go backstage to go Duran Duran concert.
Yes,
That's pretty awesome.
it was pretty awesome.
So now, when do you remember the first time you heard of Duran Duran, and how old were you about it? And what was your initial reaction to them? Because you said you bought everything that they put out from T-shirts and everything. So
Every album.
so
Yeah.
you're like their biggest supporter.
Yeah, the first song I heard from them was 1982. I was 20 years old. My second niece had just been born. I was at the hospital in the waiting room, and I had a little transistor radio holding it to my ear listening. And they played Planet Earth, the single Planet Earth. That was the first song I heard from Duran Duran. And I said, oh, that's kind of catchy, different, haven't heard this kind of style before. And, it was momentous because my second niece was being born. So I'm out in the lobby waiting for a baby to be born. So it was kind of a special day.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Um, so now, if you could describe them to people who don't know them, what would you? How could you describe them if anybody wants to get into
Mm.
them?
Well,
What?
they're a singing group who has been described and critiqued by very many different, uh, throughout their music career. They changed their image, they changed their audience, they changed their music. Um, they were able to change with whatever was happening in the pulp culture at that time. If the music was a little faster, they did a little faster. If it was slower, they did ballads. They kind of adjusted to whatever was going on in your life at that time. So to me, they were influential because they there was colognes after them. There was all these things that was related to them, you know, at that time. Um, the music to me kind of signifies what was going on during that time, the different changes, in the 80s that we went through, you know, gas shortages, housing, all the bad things, but the good thing also. But their music, they always wrote songs that we could relate to. And if you're having a bad day, you put on one of their songs and you just start dancing, and you watch their videos in these exotic lands, and you're on another island. So it was kind of a takeaway, relaxed, happy space that you could go to when you listen to their music.
Yeah. So now, what genre were they? They were rock,
They were considered
pop.
pop music. Um, when they first came out, a lot of people, I'm the same age as most of the band members. We were all 20 years old. Toward the end of the 80s, like 89, they had a lot of teenage girls, and so they became known as a boy band, so to speak. Um, and then in the 90s, they didn't like that. They wanted to get a more mature audience in the 90s because by then they were getting married, having children. So they changed their music again and geared it towards more people older in the 90s.
So, what would you say your top five favorite songs were of Duran Duran?
Oh, I would say it's probably Hungry Like the Wolf. And that's the mainstream. That's the everybody remembers. Um, that song for me and the video was really that's probably my favorite of all their songs.
Yeah, that's cool. I have never listened to Duran Duran, but I think
I
after the
know.
show, I think I'm going to be doing some little homework because I'm a
Yeah,
music fiend. I love music, so I'm just like, I've never heard of Duran Duran. And
right.
so,
And
so I'm gonna be checking them out after the show.
Right.
But like you said, uh, what if you could think of an artist that you would like to have seen or see collaborate with them, what artist would you?
Ooh. Well, they did collaborate with so many good ones from the
What's
80s and 90s.
what's
But
one that they haven't?
the one that they haven't that I would have loved to see, and it wouldn't happen now, but I really like Chris Cornell from Soundgarden, and I like his voice. And nothing against Simon Le Bon, but I think his voice, if they wrote a song and played the music the way I can hear him singing a Duran Duran style song. So I would have loved to see them collaborate. It's two different, nowhere near as far as the genre of the music, but I think they would have both been able to work up each other and do a really historic song.
Sure. So, well, before we get into your next topic,
Hmm.
welcome everybody. We've got Melody in the box. This is Pop Culture Hour. We do the show every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We bring on two guests and they talk about their favorite pop culture topics. And I interview them and ask them questions. And we also do a little pop quiz in the middle of the show. And so now, Melody, what does your next topic was Brad Pitt? What
Yeah,
does Brad Pitt mean to you? And does he have inspiration or special meaning?
well, he's my favorite actor. My two things that I love the most was music and movies. If I wasn't watching a movie, I was listening to music, vice versa. I first saw Brad Pitt in Thelma and Louise. That was the first movie he did, a very small part, but he was very good in that movie, and I was like, oh, I'll have to look for more movies. So I started watching his earlier movies, and um, I really liked him as an actor. He was very good looking. He was young. He was just starting. He reminded me of, Robert Redford, Paul Newman, that kind of actor from my mom's generation. And I started watching his interviews. He started interviewing more and talking more about how he got into movies, why he got into movies. And for him, it was his work and his craft. It's not about the fame, the fortune, the money. He really likes it, and he liked working with different actors who could teach him, and he could learn from each movie he did and take something from it instead of just earning money or winning an Oscar or, the accolades that come with movie making.
Yeah, yeah. I think he was. Think I mean I definitely feel like I've seen him in some movies, but I know I've heard of. I think he was in uh the Benjamin Button movie.
Benjamin Buttons. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in that
Yeah,
movie.
that's the one where he aged backwards.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, do you remember the first time you heard of Brad Pitt, and how old were you, and what was your initial reaction to him? Was
The
he
first
like
movie?
so? Were you like a teenager at the time when you first heard of him, or like did you think like he was a heartthrob, and is that why you got
Heartthrob.
into
He was a heartthrob. Yeah. All us girls went crazy for him. That was the initial um, introduction, so to say. And it was like, oh, yeah, you know, and then, so then he started coming out with movies. And at first you could tell they were typecasting him because he was so good looking. They made him take his shirt off more and stuff like that. But then he started saying, no, I don't, I want more serious. I want to become a serious actor. So then he started making different types of movies. And he dated Jennifer Aniston from the show Friends, so he did a couple episodes of Friends. Um, and just he's done some directing. He just kind of learned pretty much everything about the business. You know, he's now my age. We're in our 60s, and he's still working and making movies and doing. He also does a lot for communities and charities. He did a lot for Louisiana after Katrina, Hurricane Katrina. He went there and did a bunch of building and helped that city. And so he's very, in my opinion, he's an unusual human being. So
Yeah.
besides the acting and the gorgeous, he's a good human being. He's a good human.
Yeah, so if you had the opportunity to ever meet Brad Pitt, what would be something you would want to tell him or ask him?
Pick me up off the floor because I'll probably faint. And I would tell him probably just thank him for, his movies, his what they did for my life and my friends' lives, and we went to a lot of movies, and because of I also, like I said, I really like his. He's high profile. He's been in some high profile relationships, so he's been all over. But he's always handled things with dignity and privacy for his family and for himself. So I admire that in him, and that's probably what I would tell him.
I love that. I love that. So if there was like a movie or a TV show that you maybe watched recently or in the past years that he wasn't a part of, that you'd be like, oh, he would have been great in this. Is there any that come to mind?
No, not really. I haven't watched too many movies in the past 2 years. So the last one I watched was Oppenheimer, and I don't know if I mean, he might be good as like one of the professors because he was a student in college and university. And so I think Brad Pitt now at his age would have made a really good professor of a younger Oppenheimer, maybe a chemistry professor, you know, with the pipe
Yeah.
and everything. So that's how I would picture him.
Yeah, definitely. So now, before I let you go, what can you tell people if they want to go check out Duran Duran or Brad Pitt to become more interested? Like, is there a certain movie they should watch first for Brad Pitt, and
Oh, wow.
for Duran Duran, is there like an album or a song that they should listen to?
Well, Duran Duran had a really good album in the 1990s, Notorious. That would probably be one that has a little bit of everything that everybody would like for different ages. Um, for Brad Pitt, I'm not really sure because he had so many good movies, and it would depend on, he had some historical ones that were like about, actual people. I would probably recommend one of those because those were really good. I thought that he did some really good acting to try to play a real person, real life. I think she's frozen, lagging.
Yeah, I was lagging a little bit. I think we're good now.
Okay.
We're good. Okay. So now before I let you go, why don't you let everybody know what you have got going on? You have anything to plug and where people can catch you?
Well, I'm not much of a streamer myself. I usually stream late night after 12 p.m., 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. I usually do a night owl karaoke We have like a box party and different people come in and sing karaoke. Sometimes we do trivia. We kind of just, it's for anybody who has insomnia. And so that's mainly when I stream. Most of the time, I'm watching and supporting streams, doing shows here and there. I enjoy the app very much, and I appreciate everybody who has shows, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm not a full time streamer, and I don't want to be a host for any shows. I don't, I'm uncomfortable on the front of cameras sometimes, so I don't think I would be good at it. But
I think you're doing a great job.
I think the app has some really good shows, all of them, and there's it. I'm really I'm glad to be, because if you'd have told me when I was in my 20s, I'd have never believed this would be possible. Because you know, um, it's awesome that we can sit here face to face and in front of all these people.
Well, thank you for coming on, Melody. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
And and if you ever want to come back on again in the future, I definitely would
Yeah,
have you.
maybe I'll relive the 2000s and go through some of that I was going through, because by then, kids were getting married and grandkids were coming, so I had a different pulp culture altogether when the grandkids started coming.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All right, guys, that's it. That's it for the show. You just tuned into Pop Culture Hour on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We had T Legit in the box first, who talked about his pop culture topics, the Sega system, and John Candy. Then we went into a pop quiz. And T Legit came out as the reigning champion. And then we had Melody in the box talking about Duran Duran and Brad Pitt. And so if you would like to be a part of the show, please hit me up on Instagram. My Instagram's in my bio, so please tap that and reach out to me and my admin, Beard Raider, and and we'll get you on the show. And I want to give a special shout out to Emoji J, who's recording this, and also you can reach out to him to be on shows as well. He's phenomenal. And and the shout out to the top 3 gifters. We have Melody, Who, and Andy S. So again, thank you guys, and I appreciate you all for coming. And I hope you all have a good rest of your night